Tubes, the YouTube platform. And what good is going live on the YouTubes? I don't really know. Someone will go there eventually, I think. People go everywhere. I mean, other than my stream, but that's besides the point.
Boy, you sure hit on yourself a lot. Nick, I sure do.
Okay, there's my stream, and then I pull chat up. And then I set it side by side, and I pull the YouTubes up. Pull the YouTubes up. Got to pull the YouTubes up with all them Pokemans. Oh man, I love it. Okay, so we also need to then go to my channel, my audio. My face is on the TV.
What's wrong?
My daughter.
Oh yeah, I want to do this.
Massive Bing AI updates, including plugins, no more waitlist, a chat history, and multimedia answers.
Look, guys, plugins have not been the absolute most fantastic thing with AI. So when you see these like really cool AI plugins, avoid the shit out of them for now, or at least look them up a bit on like YouTube and stuff, because there has been a ton of these things going around that are just data miners. I think there was actually a genuine actual mining virus one that went around too, like, hey, let me eat your CPU cycles so I can mine crypto while you look at your dumb chat bot.
And you might look at this and start wondering, why am I still paying for ChatGPT when Bing has all of this? Let's take a look at the most game-changing updates to Bing Chat. The first major update is plugin support. Now, just like ChatGPT, which has been very slowly rolling out plugins, Bing is going to have similar plugins as well. That's going to extend the features and the capabilities of the model. Plugins will help you do things like book flights, reserve tables at your favorite restaurant, play games, or order food. Now, ChatGPT rolled out plugins back in March, but they're doing it very slowly and only to paid ChatGPT Plus subscribers who have also signed up for the waitlist. Now, I've been a Plus subscriber for I think a month and a half now, and I signed up for the waitlist for plugins within a day or two of it being announced, and I still don't have access to anything. But as far as I know, they're starting to roll out some of them, like the browser plugin, but I don't have that yet.
I do 100% believe they play favorites over there. I mean, they are a money-making business, so I'm sure those that have genuine use cases, like built-in APIs, those that have like, that are genuinely making money on the side, that kind of thing, I would assume those people are getting the priority the priority, hitting the priority list first than any of these other guys. And that would just make financial sense, unfortunately.
And who knows how long it's going to be until I get it. But with Bing announcing plugins, we might actually get the access to that before paid users of ChatGPT even do. And the big bonus here is that Bing is free. It's available to anybody, and ChatGPT is not. So there's definitely some competition brewing there. Microsoft hasn't given a lot of information about what plugins.
It is free, but what they're not mentioning is while you can use this for the chat, like, it's at least thus far been a little more restrictive, 20 limited responses, things. Jesus, this is like nothing but fucking DeSantis and other garbage. Christ, man. Can you like get a better front page here, Bing? Because this is Jesus, man. Like I don't care about all this nonsense. Shoot, man. I wanted to do one other thing. Public shopper stunned after discovering unexpected signage at the supermarket. Images communicate in all languages. I mean, that's something they should have had for a long time. And if it's going to surprise anyone, it would definitely be people down in Florida, considering how they somehow have put this ass clown in the leadership position. But anyway, so yeah, Bingbot though, I not convinced that this is going to be the future. Maybe it's better now. Maybe they've adjusted it. Maybe they've worked on it a little bit more. I am. Oh, here. Let me bump my microphone up a little bit so it's out of my keyboard range. Okay, that's a little bit better. You know what? Let me also let me move my type bar here so I can actually pull this all the way out. Oh, that's way better. Okay. Now I can actually type without having to worry about it. Okay, so what are we going to do? We are going to ask the Shatbot, because he shat himself. The Shatbot. Hello there. Response bot GPT. I have a question for you. I am an IT technician that needs to create a PowerShell program that is relatively simple in what it needs to do. Can you program for me in PowerShell? All right, let's see. This is a big ass prompt. This is supposedly what ChatGPT is, as an LLM, is supposed to be good at. So let's give this one a shot. This will be an interesting one. Hello there, ResponseBot GPT. I gave it a random ass name just to see if it throws it off any. I have a question for you. I'm an IT technician that needs to create a PowerShell program that is relatively simple and simple in what it needs to do. The program, can you program for me in PowerShell and or a mix of Python to create a program that uses the domain user ID lookup to look up users. Then 2, display the information in the following format, and then I go into the entire formatting of it. It is a big ass block of text, and it possibly should have been separated into other parts, but I'm going to let the chat bot deal with that. Let's see what it does. Now, fun thing is, the OpenAI ChatGPT will do this for you. I am not able to write code for you. Seekinter, that is what I was looking for. PyQt could do it too. Yeah, that's true. So technically either one of those is completely 100% acceptable. Okay, so it doesn't look like they have Bing assisting with coding. I can only assume that's because it's either that terrible or some other reason. I couldn't tell you. Maybe they haven't actually trained it very well for it. Air quality alert in my area. Pollen. There's a shocker. Like, why your nose always bad every morning? Oh. Right there. Allergies, man. Gets so bad half the time, even these damn things throwing it up like, hey. I do need to take a quick 5-minute break. Let me just throw this up. Taking a quick 5-minute break. BRB. And just as that says, I shall be right back, guys. Bing, you're terrible. she has to go out and do there's a story behind that one. I'm trying to be rude. Our cute little kitty. Being her cute little kitty bitty self. I am back. I do apologize for the delay. My stomach feels like someone has jumped up and then drop kicked it. I don't know why. I didn't eat anything particularly bad. Oh, never mind. Actually, yeah, never mind. I had spicy peanuts.
Plugins are going to be available when this launches, but they have shown us a few sneak peeks with OpenTable and Wolfram Alpha. Now, these are both plugins that are available with ChatGPT as well, if you have access, but they're going to help expand the capabilities of the AI model. So with OpenTable, you can make a dinner reservation. So I can search for restaurants in my area, and then the option to use the plugin will show up, which will allow me to use OpenTable to book my reservation with one of these restaurants. Wolfram Alpha is a little plugin that helps you create visualizations of data and get answers to complex science, math, or database questions by getting it to make calculations for you. Now, out of the box, Bing and ChatGPT aren't very good at math or calculating, but with a plugin like Wolfram Alpha, it can do a lot more.
I was going to say, yeah, as a large language model, it is able to guesstimate things, but basic calculations would definitely not be something it could by default handle in a normal sense. It would definitely want to offload that to a proper calculator system. And it's like, wait a minute, so it can come up with complex systems, but it can't count? Yeah. Again, it's a large language model. It's way dumber than you'd imagine. It knows what words are. It knows how to say them to you, but it doesn't understand any of it. It doesn't get any of it. It just knows how things go together in patterns, basically. It's really... And why is it so scarily accurate then? Oh man, that's part of the magic sauce.
Second major update is that Bing no longer has a waitlist because it is an open preview, which means you don't have to go sign up for the waitlist and wait to get added. You can go and use Bing right away through your Microsoft account. Now, you will need to use the Microsoft Edge browser in order to use Bing Chat, and go on over to the Chat tab.
I mean, you can actually use Python plugins to get access to it without all the nonsense returns, but it's still limited by the Bing setup and how they have that system limited. So like, as you just saw earlier when I tried to get a programming thing from it, it doesn't program for you. Now in the past, I have used it to help edit code. So a pre-existing code, if you were to paste it in there, it did help me edit and modify that. So that was interesting. So it's like partially there, but also not entirely.
And you can start using Bing and chatting and asking it questions. A hot tip, if you're new to this, is if you're using the more creative mode with Bing, it is actually operating with GPT-4. Now, at this point, GPT-4 on ChatGPT is only available to the paid users of ChatGPT Plus. So this is a way you can access the more advanced model for free. So I've been using Bing a lot because of that, and because it's also connected to the internet, which ChatGPT is not until it gets access to the plugin that lets it do that. But Bing out of the box, GPT-4, and connected to the internet. Win-win. Major update number 3 is chat history and persistence. Microsoft says this is one of the most requested features, and I can definitely see why. So up until this point, Bing Chat has had no way for you to save.
Yes, chat persistence is actually kind of a nice thing. As she's about to explain, it is the history system. It is how the conversation understands and knows what you've previously said, so it can continue to use it on in further statements. This is extremely nice in case, like, so exactly the coding thing. You are working with the bot on a coding thing. Let's say you're trying to add a new feature. Let's say it just really sucks. It has not been working. You could genuinely ask it like, okay, you know what? Let's just skip this. This is not working out. Let's go back to the point before we started even trying to do any of this. We'll base the code from that and we'll go from there. And if you want, you could even ask it like, hey, can you just spit me a copy of that entire code again? it'll do it. It will remember it, and it knows how to do it because it has that history. How this can be used in other ways, like, look, man, imagination, I hope you have one. There's tons of scenarios and things and all that good stuff, but hey, it's nice.
Save the chats you have had. You can't go back and open it once
We don't really need to keep going. It's like a Bing advertisement, and Bing can just go Bing itself. Right in the Bingaling. Ah!
Was rushed to the hospital. Will you be her daddy?
Oh, we can't watch this. It's 21 minutes and it's already 7:54. Fluffin' mother fluff. Makes me a little sad. Kind of wanted to watch that. Oh boy, let's see. Anything that could get my mind off of my stomach feeling like it was just punched. Again, like I had spicy peanuts that said flamin' hot. They were kind of toasty in the mouth, and I'm starting to think that they are angrily punching through my stomach right now. Not fun. Let's all switch to Nikon. Absolutely not, sir. You've lost your damn mind. YouTubers keep getting hacked. No, they absolutely are. And you know, that's one of the other things, like Chat GPT and all this stuff. It's going to start getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Hell yeah! You just don't. It's gonna keep constantly getting worse. The steepest railway.
Switzerland is just a haven for unusual railways. For one, because the Swiss like railways, but also because they have the ability to build all kinds of funky ones, from going under mountains to movable pantographs. But the Stoßbahn isn't just regular crazy, it's the steepest railway in the world. So let's talk more about it, and steep railways. Hi there, my name is Reese, and this is a channel where I talk about trains on big hills, or, well, mountains. Now the first thing we really need to address, and it actually comes up on Wikipedia, is the Stoßbahn actually even the steepest?
Hilariously enough, I've actually taken the other contender for this title, which is a very steep train at Scenic World in the Blue Mountains outside of Sydney. Unfortunately, the train at Scenic World feels more like a roller coaster, which Scenic World also has, albeit not completed. And it doesn't feel like a true train line because it doesn't have switches or multiple trains. It's an elevator, folks, a very scenic elevator.
The distinction being made here is that the Stoßbahn is a funicular, meaning that it, like other funiculars, does have multiple independent trains, or in this case carriages, and routes as well as switches. This allows one car to travel down the mountain while another travels up. This obviously boosts service frequency and thus capacity, but it also allows one car's weight to offset the others. Unsurprisingly perhaps, the world's steepest railway is actually the descendant of a previous, albeit less steep, funicular.
The original Stoßbahn, built in the 1930s, was like many funiculars, built to carry passengers and cargo to the ski town at the top of the high plateau, not far from the town of Schwyz, 40 kilometers south of Zurich. Now, this old route, useful as it was, had some issues. Like most funiculars, its accessibility was poor, because boarding the terraced carriages meant a sloped station with a platform that consisted of large stairs, and not only was it old, but it also took a curved route up the hill, avoiding the steepest slopes. So when the time came for upgrades to the old route, restrictive tunnels and the general age of the system meant it would be extremely expensive enough to consider if something better could be done.
Enter here the super modern, super steep Stoßbahn. The new train would take a more direct route that landed passengers right at the town at the top of the hill, rather than an annoying walk with heavy gear away. But that meant a challenge. Funiculars traditionally cannot vary their grade a lot, because that would mean that the carriages will uncomfortably rotate, throwing people forward or perhaps backwards into the wall. This means that funiculars generally need to climb at a pretty steady angle, so that the rotation of the vehicles won't be too significant and the ride will be comfortable. But this creates a big problem if you want to climb a super steep hill and then do a much more shallow traversal to the hill at the top. The solution to these problems is novel, but also just super intuitive. have the passenger cabins rotate. I should also note that there is also a freight platform at the front of each car which also rotates like the passenger cabins, allowing large items being shipped up to the town as well as supplies and people's heavy gear to be separately stored from them, which is honestly just way more dignified than, say, keeping your gigantic backpack on your lap as you go up in a bus. Now, it turns out the fundamental technology for rotating passenger cabins on some sort of transportation mode is pretty well figured out thanks to an old friend, Ferris wheels, whose cabins, at least in modern large Ferris wheels like say the London Eye, do something very similar. This way, the funicular car can happily roll along slopes
Warning,
of
Captain,
varying
1 hour
levels
mark.
of steepness,
Please take a
all
break
while
if needed.
passengers are comfortably level. Even
Thank
better
you,
though,
Stories in
this means that
Spacebot.
the actual platforms at the end stations of the line
That is the 8 o'clock warning. I got less than 10 minutes or so. I'm enjoying this video though. I like funiculars. They're fun as hell.
can be
Never been on
perfectly
one.
flat, large, open
Yeah, I've never been on a funicular. That at least that I'm aware of. That is a funicular.
spaces, allowing people to easily, comfortably, and most importantly, accessibly board the vehicles. Now, there is one more element that makes the Stow Spawn at least a little bit unique among funiculars, and that's the fact that it actually doesn't just have a single uphill cable, but also a downhill cable. Now, this second cable is necessary because, as I mentioned before, the vehicles do travel along some relatively flat, and in the cases of the stations, very flat, as in completely flat, sections of track. And so having a second downhill cable allows you to keep the vehicles moving even when there isn't tension on the top rope. You can think of this essentially as turning the two vehicles and the ropes into a gigantic loop. Of course, this does mean that when traveling along very flat parts of the route, there is sometimes additional energy loss and energy needed to be put into the rope to actually move the vehicles.
That
But
could
all
make
in all,
sense.
it is a remarkable solution for getting people and their stuff up to the top of a mountain. But that brings up the obvious question in all of this. Does your city or local mountain need a funicular? Perhaps the most natural question to ask is why not a less expensive cable car? After all, urban cable cars and gondolas have become all the rage in recent decades, and often filling a niche, climbing up hills that funiculars traditionally would have. Fortunately enough for the funiculars and for people who like rail vehicles for no particular reason, they still do have some key benefits over gondolas. For one, funiculars can be underground, which, okay, is conceivable and I believe does exist in some places for chairlifts and gondolas, but in tiny sections and it doesn't make sense in an urban area. What's funny enough is that, in fact, one of the oldest underground urban railways in the world is a funicular, the tunnel in Istanbul, which I talked about in my Istanbul Metro Explained video. Ultimately, for dense, hilly urban centers, places like Istanbul, but also Montreal or San Francisco or Rio, having an underground vehicle that can comfortably travel a very steep slope through a dense urban area where you might not have room for an above-ground gondola, where NIMBYs might be a serious issue, is a really good thing. That being said, if the desire to tunnel isn't there, funiculars can start to be a bit more complex, at least in terms of interfacing with the neighbors. That's because ultimately funiculars are rail vehicles, and like other rail systems, you need a long linear right-of-way for them to operate on. Whereas with gondolas, you can have sparsely placed poles that support the cables. With a funicular, you're building a railway. It could be built above ground, but it's still a railway, meaning that there's probably going to be at least some linear impact along its route. There
That
are
is
other
true.
benefits to funiculars though. Those who like trains are probably going to like them more than gondolas, which is a terrible reason to choose one, but they are also not going to be hanging at height, which will mean that they're more comfortable, there won't be a lot of swinging, they're better for people who have a fear of heights, and probably most importantly, they're less susceptible to being shut down because of a major weather event like a huge windstorm. Ultimately though, I think the novelty and uniqueness of funiculars is just sort of a byproduct of their historic inflexibility. But with technology such as that used on the Stow Spawn advancing and making this type of transportation mode much more flexible but also accessible, it might actually be time for a lot of cities to give the funicular another look. So thanks for watching.
A big thank you to Livio for his footage and knowledge shared for this video.
It's just interesting. Like, I don't live in a spot that could use one. Might be moving to a spot that does. But yeah. Funiculars, very interesting to me. All right, it's 8:04. I think I shall cut it here. I don't have really any videos that are 5 minutes long, so is what it is. I do have to get to work. I have to get that turned on, set up, all that fun stuff. So I'm gonna go do that. You all have an amazing rest of your day. Don't forget to take your pills and snacky-doos and all other fun morning stuff. I'll see you all next time. Peace out.